Imagine an American strike package crossing hostile airspace with complete confidence. Pilots expect familiar dominance, supported by decades of operational experience. Instead, their sensors encounter overlapping radar coverage, electronic interference, unmanned reconnaissance, and layered missile defenses working together as one coordinated system. Suddenly, superiority is no longer assumed. Every decision becomes slower, riskier, and more expensive. This is not a description of a confirmed battle. It is a strategic thought experiment built around an increasingly important question. Has America's greatest military advantage become harder to employ because defensive ecosystems have evolved? Public discussion often focuses on individual missiles or aircraft. Yet modern warfare increasingly rewards networks, integration, resilience, and information. Iran has invested for years in layered defenses, while China has emphasized integrated approaches to contested battlefields. Whether these developments fundamentally alter regional military balances remains debated, but the deeper issue reaches beyond any single country. Most people think, this story is about missiles. The real story concerns who shapes the battlefield before the first shot is fired. Understanding that possibility requires examining today's strategic environment before drawing any conclusions. The United States maintains a substantial military presence across the Middle East, positioning forces to reassure partners, deter adversaries, and preserve freedom of action. Air operations remain central to that strategy because they allow rapid response across vast distances without requiring large ground deployments. At the same time, Iran has steadily invested in layered air defense modernization, combining indigenous development with lessons drawn from decades of sanctions and regional conflict. Meanwhile, China and Iran have expanded cooperation in selected defense and economic areas, prompting close attention from military planners. Even incremental improvements in defensive capabilities can influence operational planning, deterrence, and risk calculations long before any conflict begins. But the hardware itself isn't the biggest development. The deeper story concerns how both sides adapted their strategies over decades of competition. To understand why we need to go back to history first, history helps explain why today's strategic competition looks the way it does. After the Cold War, American military campaigns reinforced confidence in precision airpower operations, such as the 1991 Gulf War, demonstrated how advanced aircraft intelligence and precision-guided weapons could overwhelm conventional defenses with remarkable speed. Those successes shaped decades of planning, encouraging continued investment in technologies that promised rapid air dominance. Iran, however, chose a different path. Rather than attempting to build an air force capable of matching the United States aircraft. For aircraft, Tehran invested in missiles, drones, underground facilities, dispersed infrastructure, and increasingly sophisticated air defenses. Sanctions further encouraged domestic production and self-reliance, turning necessity into long-term strategy. At the same time, China's emphasis on anti-access and integrated defense concepts demonstrated that sophisticated networks could complicate even technologically superior opponents. What looked like weakness was actually decades of adaptation. History explains how these systems emerged together, but their true significance only becomes clear when we examine how they reshape modern deterrence, operational planning, alliance calculations, intelligence priorities, and strategic decision-making across the Middle East today and beyond. Modern air warfare is increasingly a contest of networks rather than individual aircraft success. Now depends on how sensors, radars, command centers, electronic warfare, systems, drones, and intelligence assets share information faster than an opponent can react. Integrated air defense systems are designed to create that advantage, forcing attackers to solve multiple problems simultaneously instead of defeating isolated targets. Publicly, discussions often focus on advanced fighter aircraft. Strategically, however, planners worry about whether those aircraft can maintain information superiority throughout an operation. Electronic warfare can disrupt communications, radar coordination can expose flight paths, and resilient command structures can preserve defensive effectiveness despite sustained pressure. This approach does not necessarily deny American airpower, but it can increase operational risk, extend planning timelines, and raise the cost of every mission. That is the essence of cost imposition strategy, making military success progressively more expensive and politically complicated. This is where everything changes. The aircraft are only one part of the equation. If defensive networks continue evolving, military competition may increasingly depend on adaptation rather than technological superiority alone. Reshaping deterrence, alliance planning, procurement priorities, operational assumptions, and crisis decision-making across the region alike. Evolving air defense capabilities are reshaping military planning far beyond any single country. Israel must consider how more capable regional defenses could affect future operational planning, while Gulf partners continually reassess their own security investments and reliance on external protection. For the United States, maintaining credible deterrence may require greater investment in intelligence, electronic warfare, standoff capabilities, and alliance coordination alongside traditional air power. These adjustments also influence defense procurement decisions and long-term budgets, shaping industrial priorities as governments respond to evolving threats. Beyond the Middle East, military planners study regional developments for lessons applicable elsewhere, especially where contested airspace and integrated defenses are becoming more common. But perhaps the biggest consequence isn't military, it's psychological. Even the perception that operating costs are rising can influence deterrence, alliance, confidence, political decision-making, and crisis management before any conflict begins. The next question is how major powers adapt through technology doctrine, partnerships, and strategic innovation in an increasingly contested security environment shaped by continuous adaptation. Four plausible paths could shape the next phase of this competition. The United States may continue investing in stealth standoff capabilities, electronic warfare, and intelligence integration to preserve operational flexibility. Iran could further expand indigenous production and refine its layered defensive architecture, seeking greater resilience under continued pressure. Regional governments may deepen missile defense cooperation and intelligence sharing, attempting to strengthen collective deterrence. Another possibility is renewed diplomatic engagement aimed at reducing escalation risks while preserving strategic leverage. None of these outcomes is inevitable. They represent analytical scenarios, not predictions. The next decade may depend less on who owns the best aircraft and more on who adapts fastest to changing technology, doctrine, alliances, and strategic realities. That brings us back to the central strategic question introduced at the beginning. Can evolving defensive networks fundamentally reshape deterrence without eliminating American air power altogether? The documentary began with a question, not a verdict. That distinction remains essential. The issue is not whether one nation has suddenly overturned decades of military advantage, but whether the foundations of air power are evolving faster than traditional assumptions. Air defenses, intelligence networks, electronic warfare, and resilient command systems increasingly shape how power is projected and how deterrence is maintained. Future competition may reward those who integrate information technology and strategy more effectively than those relying on individual platforms alone. The next major conflict may not reveal who built the best fighter, but who understood the change in battlefield first. If air superiority can no longer be assumed, how should military strategy evolve to preserve stability while reducing the risks of miscalculation and escalation without encouraging unnecessary arms races or strategic complacency?